everyone, welcome back. I hope you had a good week. It's time again for another in my installment of From Book to Film. I love doing these. It's always so cool to see the differences, and sometimes disappointing, but mostly cool. This time I decided to do one where I'd seen the movie first. I saw it a couple years ago, and then I just happened to find the author's books at the store and picked one up and loved it. And then I realized it was the same author, and I thought, hey, why don't I pick up that book too? So here we are. Unnecessarily long backstory over. Let's get to it. This video is on the book The Night is Short, Walk On Girl by Tomihiko Morimi, and also the movie version, which is right here. I don't own it. It's kind of right here. Okay, so starting with the novel. The Night is Short, Walk On Girl. Apparently, America is the only one that put the in front of the title, but basically, you get the gist. This was published in Japan in 2006, and it was not released in America until 2019. It's always the way. We have to wait for anything good, I tell you. Especially from Japan, there's a big delay quite often. I don't know why, but it's a darn shame. Also, it is worth mentioning that the American version, at least every version of his books that I've read, have been translated by Emily Balistrieri, I believe is the pronunciation, and she does a really fantastic job. Seriously, good translators and interpreters are worth their weight in gold. This book also received the Yamamoto Shuguro Prize in 2006 when it came out. In the book, the story is split into 4 parts that take us through the seasons, starting in spring, summer, fall, winter. The stories kind of match the weather. There's a school festival in the fall, and then there's a horrific cold that makes the rounds in the winter. It follows 2 protagonists. They are students at the same college. There is the quirky girl who goes out and has adventures and is open to, receiving what life has to offer. And there's the shy, hopeless romantic dude who follows her around trying to get up the courage to approach her. That might sound a bit iffy, but I assure you it is handled in a very good way. If nothing else, the dude ends up having the worst in a lot of these situations when it's clear that everything would go much better for him if he just approached the girl like a normal human being. And he does get there in the end. Now, a bunch of truly wacky stuff happens in this book, which I love. And a lot of these little details that are thrown in get brought back and tied into the story, which is another thing I really love. Now, as I said, I already read 2 of Morimi's books. I read the Tatami Time Machine and the Tatami Galaxy, both of which are related. And characters and situations from those books show up in this book, which just, I was laughing out loud with delight. Now, Morimi attended the University of Kyoto, and he makes use of many locations in that area, which lends an air of familiarity and authenticity. Now, I would call this book almost entirely airborne, so to speak. Just like those other 2 books I read. I can't speak for all his books. Not yet. But it's one of those books with just absolutely ridiculous situations and characters with ridiculous traits, and that's another thing that I tend to love. His books are described often as magical realism. So they are definitely whimsical, but there's a grounding underneath it all, which is important. Even though the characters may act ridiculous at times, they are treated with love and respect. It's like the author is acknowledging that we all act a bit ridiculous at times. And I quite enjoyed some of his ideas, such as there being a god of used book fairs, who, if the fancy strikes them, may hide from you the book that you are searching for on purpose. And how many of us who are book files, or whatever you call it, could easily believe that? Now, as I said, the 2 protagonists go through the book differently. They go on the same trajectory, but their outcomes to the same adventure, more or less, are very different. And I read a great review that pointed something out. The male protagonist goes through really wanting to achieve his goals. He's focused on that, and consequently he is foiled at almost every turn. The female protagonist has a different approach. It's not that she doesn't have her own hopes, dreams, goals, etc., but she goes on this journey open to whatever life has to offer her, and kind of goes where it leads. And arguably, she ends up with more success than the male boy type fellow does, and the reviewer likened this to a Buddhist worldview. I thought that was a good way of looking at it. Whether the author did that intentionally or no is up for grabs. I couldn't find any interviews with him to confirm or deny. In any case, I loved every second of reading this book and would gladly dive into this world again. It's one of those I really wish I could go back and read for the first time all over again. The film. Now, the jacket illustration is by Yusuke Nakamura, who also happened to be the first character designer on the film. Now, the film was released in 2017, directed by Masaaki Yusada, with screenplay adaptation by Makoto Ueda. The original lead voices are Kana Hanazawa and musician Gen Hoshino. For the sake of time and narrative consolidation, the events of the novel, which take place over a full year, have been boiled down into a single night. As happens with many of the better book-to-film adaptations, this retains most of the main points and the charm of the beloved characters, although many minor points have also been changed or reordered. For example, we meet the festival director and the character Chief-in-Chief Underpants, who is here called Don Underwear, far earlier as friends of our unnamed male fellow protagonist. Mr. Underwear shows up later at the book fair to tell his tale of the mysterious girl he has fallen for. That's in a different section in the book. His entire section is actually from part 3 in the book, all about the school festival, which is part of the film. However, the guerrilla performance of the Codger of Monte Cristo, which in the book is the Crackpot of Monte Cristo, gets set up at the book fair, and it's a rock opera instead of a play. The conclusion of the play goes quite differently, including Mr. Underwear being misled by the director. Now, also at the book fair is when the character of Hanaki begins to catch her cold, which helps to tie those two events together. The cold spreads through the entire area. As I said, that is the main plot of the novel's part 4. So they're all separated in the novel, but tied into one night in the movie, and it pulls it off quite well. The animation through the whole film is imaginative and delightful. I'm not a big anime fan myself, but this was quite a different style, and it took a little getting used to, but I was able to get into it. Overall, the film is an excellent counterpart and expansion to the universe of the book. Okay, so I recommend both the book and the film here, which is a thing I cannot always do. Read the book first so you can see how the film interprets it. There are definitely differences and changes, but it's unlikely you'll be disappointed. So that's my 2 cents. You go ahead, read the book, see the movie. If you've already done so, do chime in the comments. And by all means, also let me know what else I should check out for these videos. I hope you have a great week. Watch more movies, read more books, get out and say hi to people every now and again. Experience those stories that life has to offer. I hope all goes well for you. Take care of yourselves and each other. It's a long road ahead, but you got this. I believe in you. I do. And I will see you next week. Bye now.